Hello, this is Matthew Kolajay, the business immigration partner with Geo Law Group, and I want to record a short explanation of the Trump proclamation suspending immigration. As you may know, Trump tweeted a couple days ago that he was going to suspend immigration. That caused quite a bit of consternation and panic, as many of the president's proclamations about immigration do. However, when he released the order yesterday, it was much more limited than originally anticipated, and the scope was much more limited. The application was much more limited. It was limited to 60 days. And in addition, it will really have very little practical effect, actually, for various reasons, because immigration is shut down at the moment anyway, okay? So unfortunately, it seems like this order is primarily fortunately and unfortunately, it seems this order is primarily a political message, political message to his base, his anti-immigrant base, to show that he's doing something about the COVID-19 emergency, even though this doesn't really have anything to do with it. All right, but it doesn't actually change much as far as actual immigration policy for the moment. So first of all, the order is only applicable to green card applicants from outside the US, okay? So people who are applying for immigrant visas at the consulate abroad, okay? And that means they're coming here to get a green card in the US and live here permanently, all right? And it only applies to people who need to apply for those immigrant visas at the US consulates abroad. So if you have an immigrant visa already, okay, you can still come to the US when travel is allowed, of course. Now, of course, a lot of travel, international travel is completely all right. Plus, there are exemptions to this order, including the most common category of immigrant visas, family-based immigrant visas, which is of U.S. citizens. That is not included in the order, all right? The order also exempts minor children of U.S. citizens, which is another common area of family-based immigration, immigrant investors, meaning EB-5 investors, okay, and healthcare professionals who can assist in the fight against the coronavirus, among other categories. All right, so these categories are obvious benefits to the United States and obviously do not fit into the anti-immigrant message that Trump is trying to exploit here with this order. So the application of the order is limited. Only applicants for immigrant visas abroad at the consulates, and it doesn't include the most common, at least family-based categories of immigrants. And it doesn't apply to people who already have a green card or an immigrant visa. The order also explicitly does not apply to non-immigrant visas, which are really one of the most common types of visas, and in particular, work visas, the most common types, H-1B in particular, the skilled worker visa, which Trump has criticized throughout his presidency, okay? That is not affected, fortunately, and other types of business-based visas, including intra-company transfer visas, they're called L1 visas for executives who are coming to the United States, of executives of international companies that are coming to the US to work for the US branch of the company, for example, and other types of non-immigrant investor visas. All right, if he had banned these types of visas, that would have caused a lot of economic pain, damage the interests of US companies and investment projects here in the US. All right. However, Trump has always criticized business immigration, okay? He's very against legal immigration, okay? He says it's only against the illegals, but in fact, he's very much against legal immigration and has tried to restrict it in many, many ways already. And he did announce in the order that he would review the non-immigrant visa category, and there might be additional restrictions in 30 days. So that remains a possibility. And as always with Trump orders, there's always a lot of confusion and a lot of anxiety, and we don't know what he's going to do next. However, in this case, this does not apply to the most common work visas, H-1B visas, L2 visas, L1 visas, all right? investor visas, high skilled visas, and that's fortunate because these visas are very beneficial to the economy and to U.S. companies. Now, lastly, in addition to all these limitations on the actual effect of the actual application of the ban in a practical sense also has very little effect because the consulates abroad are closed. They've been closed for over a month. They're going to be closed for another 2 months, probably. So people aren't applying for immigrant visas anyway, all right? They can't get immigrant visas at the consulates right now because they are closed. So the scope of this order is very limited, all right? The actual practical effect of this order is very limited, okay? He's announced a draconian policy. He's gotten headlines saying he's doing something. He is limiting the immigrants. The immigrants are the cause of the problem. The immigrants are bad for the economy. The immigrants are bad for the U.S. healthcare system. That's always been a narrative that he's been pushing. Okay, obviously this coronavirus situation has nothing to do with that, with immigrants once again. But immigrants are the only problem that Trump wants to address. That's always the problem. That's always the solution. Limiting immigration, attacking immigrants is always the solution to whatever problem that Trump believes in. So fortunately, he could not actually implement a significant ban that actually has any effect. All right, maybe he wanted to, and maybe he still wants to, okay? But the fact is, I think he learned his lesson when he issued the draconian Muslim bans early in his presidency. He did it without proper consultation. It created chaos at the airports, chaos and confusion, lots of legal lawsuits against them. Injunctions were issued against them. Okay, so once again, this ban is much more limited than he originally announced and perhaps originally intended, because he is not a dictator. He does not have the power to do whatever he wants. Okay, and in practical effect, it has very little effect on the actual situation of immigrants in the United States, because the closure of the embassies has stopped immigration temporarily anyway. We'll keep a close eye on how this ban is implemented. Okay, it's still rather vague. It's rather poorly drafted. It's clear that Trump does not have a very detailed or accurate understanding of how immigration actually works. Okay, so some of the wording is vague. We'll see how it's implemented, all right, and we'll see if he makes any changes. He did reserve the right, as usual, to expand it and broaden it. So we'll keep a close eye on it and let our clients know if there are any issues, if you have any questions about whether the ban applies to you. Okay, if you're worried about whether it will slow down the process. Right now, immigration processing is very slow, unfortunately. All right, the local immigration offices are also closed in the United States. Okay, but as I said, these applications, the ban on immigrant visas, green cards, does not apply to applications in the United States. So the Immigration Service in the United States is accepting applications. Remember, this does not affect the acceptance of applications, so you can continue to apply for visa extensions, you can to apply for green cards, okay, continue to apply for citizenship, okay? It just means that people who are abroad will not be able to get their immigrant visas at the consulate right now, which they can't do anyway because the consulates are closed. So if you have any questions about how this might affect your case, if you have any uncertainty, be sure to contact your lawyer. We'll keep everybody updated on what these orders really mean and try to maintain calm and a positive attitude during this difficult time. So I wish all of you the very best. I hope you stay safe and take care of yourselves and your loved ones, okay, and your employees as best you can during this difficult time. We're all in this together, including immigrants, and I enjoy talking to you, and we hope